Hi, this is Trader Low. In this video I wanted to look at some patterns and how they form. I keep coming back to this link, but the price action is so nice, so I want to use this as an example. Okay, this is from a few days ago. I did a video about holding this area and testing these areas, and they did that. In the end, they ended up failing to hold this level I wanted to hold for longs. Bounced the same level I've looked at many times, and did a failure here at 16.3. They went below, tested the previous lows, tested 15.7 again, and made a new low. And this gave some nice long entries. But let's just look at what they have done here. So they failed, retested, made a new low, and this I will call this the failure of this move. It's also this, but this is the main failure in my eyes because of the importance of the level. So they went down, up, and this is an expected place to reject and just go down again. But they didn't, so they went all the way up, and going up here makes it actually more likely to hold support now, whichever level that should be. And support on a move like this, we can check for some levels. This zone is well respected. They actually, this was the area that made a low. They retested it, rejected it again, gave a decent long entry, gained it, tested the zone here, and went up. They played around the 15.7 level, ended up just doing a failure and dumped it. So, but this was on lower time frames. If you trade patterns, you might see this as a cup, and now you want to make a handle. And if you had gone up here again, it would be quite likely that we actually did a breakout. But what we did the failure in the expected zone, and went lower, because this was the trend also. But if you see here, they're making a cup, but what are they also making? You see here, go up, reject a decent level, go down, test some support, and when they broke above here, that's quite bullish. They gained this level now. At least they tested the resistance above, held it as support, but then they did a failure and didn't hold. And when they now went back down again, they did a failure here and down to the main levels to hold down here. And many people will call this an head and shoulders or other things. And this time they didn't break here either. This is a strong level of support, so they actually held it, at least in the beginning. And they actually tried to do another head and shoulders here of some kind, let's call it this, pair, and again. And this time it actually lost the level, went down, that's some high low of this, more or less rejected the top part again, this, and went down again. So you can see that more or less bullish pattern. If it fails, it will very often turn into a bearish pattern, and that is what they did here. And they made a higher low, tried to gain it again, just held the previous bottom here, which they have used as support earlier, and in the end they gained, and they did a failure of the same level here. So I did a short here actually. We didn't want to close and trade above here because not for shorts, because then they would most likely go even higher. So are they making any interesting patterns here? Not really. Okay, went up here, they actually gained this failure, at least they traded above, went back down and held decent support. And what did they do? They went above, actually traded above these levels, which made it even more likely to hold. And when they did, we wanted to hold the high level support. And this time they broke 15.7 again, traded above, held some proper support. And now this is the interesting part. If they had failed to gain here and just rejected here, they would actually more or less make a lower time frames head and shoulders again and try again for a higher low. But at the moment they went above here and closed above here. It was looking good for longs, but now they really wanted to hold this 15.7 zone, because if not, it would just be a close below, a failure and a dump. And this time, if they had dumped it down here, they might not have held it. They could just make this the head again and go down, reject this area, which makes sense now because they lost what they wanted to hold, and they can just dump it. So why are these patterns so normal? So you see them so often, and it's quite easily explained by price action. Patterns form because they are holding or failing to hold levels they should hold or reject. So these levels, at the moment they gain it, above here and gain it, and they will trigger a lot of stop losses. People will break out by, and it just makes sense that they're testing something higher. So people will FOMO, break out buy, stop losses will trigger, they go much higher. Then they're trying to hold some levels here. It's actually these, but they need to go higher, but they are losing steam, and they are not able to do so. So they go back here again, last level of support. But when they're failing to hold this will do the same as this zone. So they will trigger some stop losses for longs. People will break out buy, and we will just go often much lower. But they will respect some levels. When on the way up again, people will know that this is resistance now. It might also be people trying to long it on the way down, so they are underwater, and when we come up again they will just exit at break even. So it makes sense that they will react at the same zone, and most likely we just complete the pattern and go down, either all the way down or at least a higher low. So it makes sense. And we see on the cup and handle, they're just holding the level, the area they should hold. And if they are able to break the failure of this zone, let's call it the high level support or the level they failed to hold and therefore dumped, if they're able to close above it, on at least on higher time frames, they will most likely go here, and if they go up here they will most likely break out. So the patterns make sense, but you need to actually close above stuff and actually hold, and even if you gain, you need to hold the proper support after. If not, it's a failure to achieve, and I will just do a dump. And these retests, if they are not able to achieve, will often create big dumps, powerful dumps, if they don't hold proper support, because algos and other traders know which levels they should hold. So patterns form for a reason. Let's see. So Link did a lot of proper things. It was very nice to trade. But if you look on some higher time frames, what have we actually done, or what will many people see here? Many people will maybe see a trend line, something like this. So they broke out of it, maybe a pennant or something. Just a lot of failure to failure moves, failure to achieve, failure to lose. Most likely just because they are waiting for Bitcoin to do something. So failure, and high low, lower high, higher low again, and here they're breaking out. Then many people play the breakout of patterns like this, and sometimes we go up, maybe reject something like this, and then we go down again, and they call it a fake out if we don't hold. But what are we actually doing? It's not random what we test when we break out, trying to break out at least. They're just testing proper levels, and after they need to hold certain levels, and if they don't, they'll most likely go down and try to do a high low again. And this high low is also usually within the pennant or whatever you call it. So I try to test here, and often they're rejecting the previous failure here and go down, or they may just hold it and try again. So breakouts of patterns like this, just going above, and it's not enough. They actually need to hold stuff. They need to hold proper levels, and then it's more likely to go up. So what's likely for Link now? Well, I did go to my big profit target. It was just the high low of this. When they broke this, this was the next zone. What's likely now? Well, if they can go above this 17.3, this is the actual level to now gain, and if they do, they could wick up here and go down again, but I'm actually looking for a failure. So we'll see if they are able to go above here, close above it. It's a decent chance they will actually just hold here or here and go higher. But for now I'm looking for lower. I have more shorts still than longs, but I guess they could go higher, but yeah, I think it makes more sense to just fail up here or even here and do a bigger retracement. We'll see. So with patterns, so we have a cup and handle, we have head and shoulders, which you need to actually watch the levels they respect, because just don't look at something that looks like head and shoulders. You need to check what levels they are holding and what rejecting. Only then it makes sense to trade them, in my experience. What else do we have? Okay, if we now can go above here, then it makes sense to make what many people will call a bull flag. So what's a bull flag? Well, we need to actually gain something first before I will call it a bull flag. Well, I don't call it that, but I trade it like that. So they need to actually gain something. And then, if they're grinding down, they need, in the end, they will test some support. If they hold it, they can go higher. They can just accumulate some longs when they go down, and then we can break out. But we need the bull flag also need to hold certain levels. If it breaks, it will just be a failure, and we'll test some good support first, and maybe try again. So bull flags, yeah, they don't make much sense for me. I'm just looking at levels to hold. Often the bull flag, they call it, can be below some levels we need to hold, and then I can just accumulate shorts, not longs. So you need to look at the levels they are playing. So this is more or less a pennant. They're not gaining and they're not losing. At least they're holding high lows and lower highs. Link is looking quite good now. We'll see. So I took the long at 15.7. Actually took a short at 59 because of it was more or less a must hold now. So it was an easy stop loss for both sides. So I played them both, and I had a stop loss at $0.1 ish. So one of them worked out. Yeah. Do we have some other patterns? So we have we could have a pattern like this, and sometimes they end up breaking up, but the important thing is what they're actually going back down to. So be sure to check if there are some interesting levels. In this example, maybe something like this. And if they then hold it to break out, they need to actually hold something. So in this example, maybe go above here, maybe up here, and hold here. That's how I would trade it. I would trade it as support, go up, and I want to hold something. And that's a level I would actually add to my long. because if we don't hold it here, it will either go down for a higher low, but then I could just re-enter, so my stop loss will be something like here. And if that works, yeah, we're going higher. Okay, and if we flip this, this will be the opposite, and then it's quite likely that we test some resistance and we need to try to break it. If we break it, we can go higher on the inverse. Yeah. Okay, so all the patterns people are trading them as the pattern itself. They don't understand why. They have just seen some pictures and think it's smart to trade them. And most people also breakout trade. That doesn't make sense for me, because you're getting much worse risk and reward, and very often they're just testing a level above, going below, retest, dump. So yeah, and they are just trading from here to here, or from here to here, while the way I'm trading, I might be trading from here to here. So, and my stop loss is much easier. I have a super tight stop loss, and people doing breakout trades might need to take the trade here. I have the stop loss either here or here. So it's much worse risk reward. So yeah, you do you. Okay. And which other patterns I actually do like? Let's see. So what you want to look for reversal patterns, you can do something like this, go lower, like this, lower, go above, and hold here, and higher. Then this is a good long. If you're going here and just doing a failure to gain this, it's very likely that we go down here or even go lower. You often see patterns like this when price is reversing. So it's a good reversal pattern, but when you're playing this pattern, you really want to take profits here, because they could also complete a different pattern you might see. So you need to take profits here. If not, they could just do a failure here and complete a head and shoulders and dump. And they often do this pattern as a trend continuation. So it's a good long. You need to take profits here, and then you want to hold this. So that's just something to look for. They can also do this on the inverse. So yeah, this is how you usually want to trade, and just be sure that you don't look only on smaller time frames, on lower time frames, because there might be some super important levels you want to hold. Let's just do an example. Okay, XBT USD. My chart should be super. Let's see. Yeah, so you could be playing some patterns in this area, but at some point, just don't look at only look at the stuff here. The moment we closed above this zone, we really wanted to hold maybe this, but at least this zone. So we did that here, and we finally gained, not this low, but we gained the high low when we gained it, and even up here. We really wanted to hold this previous zone. So don't only look at lower time frames. You need to make sure you understand which levels are making the patterns. And when you come back to the link again, the patterns, they are not random, so they form around other levels. So this formed around this 15.7 zone, and also the failure here. And these levels are not random either. So this level we gained at last, or here, is the previous high here. And this 15.7 level, yeah, try to show you. It actually makes sense that it is important when you see it over here. So it was a previous high, then they ended up failing it, going lower, did the failure, but they held proper support. Then they closed above the failure, and at this point they wanted to hold this area now, and they actually did, and this was the zone they bounced to make a new high, and they actually came back and tested it again here before going higher. And if you see this setup, it's more of a price action pattern than retail level pattern, but still. And if you see here, they did more or less the same. They finally gained, tested some support, went up. This could be the failure. So now they had to hold the high level support, which they did, and they used this to break out. So this is a zone you don't want to break, close below now for longs. If they lose this again, they will most likely go down, up, and fail. But always take profits for a higher low, because they can hold the high low, but they really want to hold here. So just an observation. So don't trade patterns and be biased. Actually, most of these patterns you shouldn't breakout buy it here. If you are playing patterns and breakout buying them, you should actually wait for a breakout, because if not, it's a good place to reject and go the other way. But I just don't breakout buy anything, because almost always they will do a move above, retest, then go higher. So that will just make more sense. Yeah, okay. This was quite a short session. I didn't plan this, so it was just something whichever popped into my head. I tried to explain it, but I hope it makes some sense at least. So trade patterns, okay, but trade them knowing price action. What should we break or not break? What should we hold or not hold for the different setups? Okay, what did we actually do here? We did a failure to gain, maybe. At least we didn't make a new high. So I don't want to close below here now for longs. If they do, it's quite likely they will just go down, do another attempt and fail and go lower. But then that's only super low time frames. Holding here now is quite likely. So let's see, they already held here. Yeah, but now this is super important to hold. Hold high and low of this. Okay. Any more patterns? I don't think so. Okay. I hope you can help me to grow this channel by subscribing, maybe liking some videos. That would make me quite happy. Okay.